Today we're going to address one of the most requested tutorials for C++. How on earth do you do multiple actions at the same time? Now this seems to be the main question stopping teams from leaving block coding behind. So let's take a look at threads. Hello, I'm Mr. Code. C++ is a procedural coding language, meaning that the code is executed line by line in what is called a routine. That is why when you have a line of code that makes the robot go forward, followed by a line of code that makes its arm go up, the first line gets completed first, followed by the second line. Now this is all making sense. After all, that is exactly what happens with block coding as well. We have a block that makes the robot go forward, followed by a block that makes the arm go up. But what if we wanted to do both things at the same time? Well, 90% of block coders will simply add a second event, running a parallel stack of code. In C++, there is no parallel programming, and there are no events. In block coding, that is like trying to do two things with one stack of code. That's just not possible. Or is it? Some more experienced VEX programmers will notice that there is this arrow next to the block that toggles between wait and don't wait. Now this is the key. This simulates the creation of a thread or a coroutine that runs parallel to the main routine. When you toggle this block to not wait, the main thread will skip to the next block while the coroutine will stay back and run the block in a new thread, thereby executing two things at the same time. Speaking of not waiting, why don't you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel? I write lots of robotics tutorials just like these, and your support really helps me continue my work. You can also join our YouTube channel membership for hundreds of in-depth Scratch and Python tutorials and weekly advanced lessons. Just hit the join button to get started. Now that we know what a thread is, let's start a new C++ project for our clawbot. Make sure all your devices are set up. So your drivetrain should be at 1 and 6 using the brain inertial sensor. The lifter should be at 10 and the claw should be at 4. First, let's make the robot go forward for 10 centimeters. Then we're going to make the lifter go up. to 70 degrees. And then we're going to wait for 5 seconds, just so that we make sure that the robot is paused in the right position. Download the code. Let's have a look on the table. Executing. Alright, so you can see that the first line of code is run first, followed by the second line. So it moves forward before it lifts the arm up. But now we want to create a thread to do both things at the same time. The first thing we have to do is create a function for our thread to refer back to, because our thread can only call back using functions. Here we drag a function in, we call it lift arm, and then we're going to put the lifter into that lift arm function. Now when I call the function, it's not going to create a routine. What I need to do is actually call it as a thread. So here, before I run drive for, I need to create a thread. So here I go into functions, create a thread. It says thread, my thread equals thread. And then we're going to replace this my thread callback with our function lift arm. Make sure you don't have the brackets inside as well. So now what's going to happen is when the main function gets run, it will create a thread, which is your parallel routine, that starts running lift arm, but then the main thread will continue to run drivetrain. And this is what makes it do two things at the same time. download the code, have a look at the table, and run. See? Now you got two things happening at the same time. If you wanted to do more than two things at the same time, you would just execute multiple threads. If you go back into the software, you will see that we can go thread, my thread equals this thread over here. All I have to do is create another one, call it my thread 2. And then you can run a different kind of function. My Robotics Center Creator Academy is dedicated to teaching kids about coding and robotics. In 2023, 4 of our teams competed at Worlds in Dallas, Texas. If you love VEX, then make sure you reach out to us in the comments section below. We love to share ideas and connect with other teams. And if you're in Australia, why not visit us in Eastwood or Chatswood to see how we can support your child or school robotics team. Visit our website at www.creatoracademy.au. Next lesson, we'll look at some advanced tips and tricks using C++ in VEX IQ. Hope to see you then. Bye bye.